there's been loads of we're live. Hello.
We are live in the group, aren't we?
I don't know. Hang on.
I think.
Fucking should be.
Yes, somebody's letting off fireworks.
Oh, here we are. Yep. Right.
Yes, we are. Aliens. Told us aliens. Good evening, everybody.
Taylor May and Ellen. Hello, Taylor May. You all right?
I'll beat you to it this time.
Amber as well. Right, I'm gonna make that bigger, and then the glare isn't so bright. Oh, sorry, I'm still recovering from that bloody thing I had. So, yes, anyway, UFOs and shit. We'll talk about them in a minute.
And shit.
Yeah, exactly. Apart from some things we're not going to talk about, how's your week been?
Yeah. It's been one of those weeks. Yeah. I've actually managed to do some writing this week. Amongst all the other chaos that that has decided to drop itself right at my feet, I've actually managed to write 1,000 words of my new book.
Ooh.
So I'm quite pleased with that because I've got a new laptop. So I've got everything's all updated and it all starts up straight away and I can just get on with it. So
thank you so much, Taylor. My daughter, how can you tell us my daughter? Speaking of shit, I'm having a poop. Thank you. Hiya, Joe. Thank you for those videos earlier, by the way.
Did Taylor seriously just comment?
Yes, Taylor has just commented that she's on the toilet.
I'm so fucking proud sometimes. I really am.
Is this where we could say that this is an internet first? That we've actually got someone commenting from the bathroom.
Hi, Randy, mate. Yes, I think it probably is an internet first. We've got the other half of the rear view mirror on the toilet having a jobby as we speak. Taylor, you're Facebook famous for pooping.
Oh dear. I can't find it now. Oh god.
Well, I went down to Somerset and had a long weekend down there. Hi, Gary, and met my new grandson.
We've seen the pictures.
He looks like a Bigfoot. He's got massive feet and massive hands. Looks like a Yeti.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, aliens. There you go. But yeah, still recovering from that bloody investigation. I was so ill, Christ, I really was. But anyway, yes, aliens and stuff. Where did we get up to last week? Because we were talking about everything, weren't we?
Yeah, I think we were sort of having a conflab about the disclosure and just basic things in general, and we sort of ended up going way off key and talking about what films we'd seen regards to the documentaries. And I've seen quite a few more since.
See, I haven't because I've been working all week, so by the time I've finished, I've had to go to bed because I'm up at stupid o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, some of the stuff I've been watching over the last week. I watched one called BAM or BAM. I think the lady that presents it, she's French, but what she's done is she's gone to
big ass mothers.
I don't. What was that? Ew. I've got an alien hybrid on my arm.
I'm very glad you're washing your hands, Taylor. Thank you.
This lady, she was in Peru, Egypt, and India.
And where?
India,
yeah.
And she has basically studied all of the buildings, the ancient buildings that were on Machu Picchu or whatever they call it, and Wakamama, I think it's called.
Whack your mama. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Whack your mum up, something like that, silly. And basically, she's been to these 3 locations, and in these areas, she has noticed that there's been a common theme with the building, and we've all known about the ones in Peru, where the angles of the stones used by the stonemasons were that perfect that the lines themselves couldn't have been done in the time period that they're claiming. So, of course, there was that in Peru, and they had all these scientists and that were using laser angles to actually find the true measure of it. And then they noticed how they were so symmetrical with the lining up with the stars back in the day when they were built, which obviously is the common reoccurring theme with the pyramids in Egypt. But then she went and completely threw everything by going to these 2 caves in India. And one particular cave in India was pure granite.
Yeah.
The whole cave was made of granite. The walls were perfectly flat and polished. And she spoke to a medieval stonemason, and he turned around and he said that even in the day of medieval times, you would not have been able to have got that perfect finish on a wall like that. You would have killed thousands of people, because this cave was so deep that all of the silicon and all the dust and everything else that would have been inside this cave, it would have been impossible to breathe.
Just 1 second. Could you possibly tell Joe where she needs to sign in so we can see her name?
Well, it should be on StreamYard. If you just sign into StreamYard, Joe, you don't have to pay to sign up to StreamYard. And then what it will do then is, obviously, once you've put your details in, you linked it through Facebook, it will automatically put your name up in the comments. So yeah, I mean, he said these walls were that flat that using all the tools possible would have taken thousands of man hours to have got this fine finish. But at the same time, you would have killed God knows how many people because of all the dust in the air. There was no light, so they couldn't see what they were doing. And if they did use any form of light, like torches, lanterns, fires, or anything like that, they would have killed themselves because of the amount of carbon monoxide and stuff that was in there. So it then asked the questions: how did they get these rooms so, these walls were so flat? And they got this scientist in with a laser level. Yeah. And what it did was it checked down to microns on how flat the surface was. And it came up with something like 0.0011 micron, which is near enough as flat as glass.
See, there's been quite a few places. There's I can't remember the name of the other place, but there's another one that Eric von Daniken goes to a lot. And it's got like the weird H blocks that fit together. And that's exactly the same thing. They're all done with such precision. I mean, I know there's techniques that they have where they put the stones on top of each other and move them gently to get them perfectly flat. Yeah. But you still can't get half of that unless you've had something like a laser or some sort of heat source or precision cutter or something like that. Modern technology anyway.
Yeah. And well, this is the question they're asking. How did they get these walls as flat as glass without the use of modern technology? Even modern technology, they reckoned, using modern techniques, the walls would still be from 0.0025 microns onwards. And yet these were 0.0011 microns, which was flatter than anything today we could use. So, how did they do it?
We had technology back then, either from ancient aliens or from precursors. It was one or the other, or possibly both. But we definitely had technology then that us back then didn't understand. We were just told,
Yeah.
do that, and it'll do that. Oh, all right then. You know, so
yeah, there's got to be something in it somewhere along the line that we've not discovered yet, simply because, you know, even with today's cheating methods, with using technology, you know, how are they able to do it so fast?
Yeah.
And with the minimal amount of people being killed or died from inhalation of the dust.
Well, there's some catacombs underneath Turkey that were found, wasn't there? And it was 3 or 5 layers, 3 or 5 levels of this, and it turns out it was a city that was built underneath the ground, not Gobleteki, not whatever the hell that bloody word is. I can't say it, but it was another one, and it had the same thing, but it had tool marks of something that went round, and you could see all the circular cut marks of a bloody great big tool, not me, ladies, going round and round and round and round, and it's cleared out all these tunnels and all these rooms, and they don't know what did it.
Yeah.
Can you help Joe stuck again?
I've got a sneaky suspicion there that there, you know, obviously there is what you need to do, Joe, is go to the link, come back in using the Facebook group, and then just go onto the live feed. Then you should be able to comment, and your name should come up.
Because I can see it. I can see your name on here, but when we go into the StreamYard bit, your name doesn't come up. So
yeah,
have a test.
It's probably coming up on the Facebook Live, but I'm not getting your name coming up either.
Yeah, Gary's got the same thing. If in here I can see his name, but on the StreamYard I can't see his name.
Yeah,
because he's talking about and that doesn't that's without the rivers of mercury in the tombs. Yeah, a lot of the South American tombs have got rivers of mercury down below.
Downstairs.
Downstairs, down below. Oof, rivers of mercury down below. Oh, see the doctor. down below.
That's the last thing you want is to have mercury downstairs.
See, there's so many jokes there about Queen and Freddie Mercury. But
Barcelona. Yeah. So I mean,
get out from there. Yeah.
It does, you know, it does, and it will always beg the questions as to what it is that has, you know, made them capable of creating such things. And we, you know, I can repeat it again, the Nazca lines in Peru, you know, perfectly symmetrical pictures that can only be seen from the sky.
Yeah.
On a plateau, and you know, there's no higher point, and yet they can only be seen from the sky.
Well, one of those, they actually leveled a mountaintop perfectly flat, and they said it was something
It's
like
work, Joe.
200,000 tons or something that was taken off in the space of 20 years to get this mountain perfectly flat. And this was Nazca lines. Plus, also Nazca lines, there are allegedly, he says in 1.5 brackets, allegedly, there's very, very old rooms and catacombs that are being used as top secret bases for Black Project sites. So, and the technology in the rooms that are there are supposed to come from thousands of years ago.
And that's the thing, isn't it? So, like Gary says, Puma Punka got the H blocks.
Puma Punka, that's it. That's the one I was thinking of. Yes, that's the one I was talking about. Where they've been laser cut. Yeah,
and this is where they're saying that the right angles used to make these H blocks. They are so perfect that in that day they would not have been able to have done that by even modern means.
Well, they think that Puma Punka
perfect.
That's right. They reckon that Puma Punka was a UFO landing site because they did a reconstruction of what all the stones would have looked like when they were put back together. And
They
like,
claimed there was a runway there as well, didn't they?
That's
An
right.
alien runway.
That's right, and a big square landing pad. And it was like, ooh. Oh, I've got to do it. The landing pad was, of course, for aliens. So there you go. You've all had an aliens. There you go. Anybody else wants one? I'll think about it.
So yeah, it was quite interesting, and obviously watching ones like the Fifth Dimension, not the Fifth Dimension, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
That was a hell of a mind-opening.
Wasn't it?
That one. Oh,
and I'm so glad that I stumbled into it.
Yeah, it was called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, wasn't it?
Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which is actually classed as physical contact with an extraterrestrial or an extraterrestrial craft.
Because it says all the different. No, Fifth Kind was with an extraterrestrial itself and the craft, and going off to wherever, because it explained all the different levels, didn't it? That Close Encounters of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, worth a watch.
Yeah, and also is the I can't remember the name of it now. The one that was the Arizona Lights, the abductions that happened during the Arizona Lights. Yeah. And that guy who had told everybody that he was going to be going off in a spaceship, and then he just disappeared.
The Canadian guy, yes, yeah, that was, yeah. And then they all thought right at the end of it, they were trying to make it look like he'd taken his truck into the woods and blown himself up. And then right at the end of it, when the credits were coming up, they said, "Actually, we found this truck, but we can't get to it because all mining roads logging roads have changed." It
wasn't easily accessible.
But they found it, and it's like he didn't blow himself up. Where did he go? And he was convinced he was going, and lots of the people that knew him said they thought he was telling the truth, and they thought he was going off up there doing whatever.
And he's just asked a good question. If they was landing, then why don't they now? Or are they hidden now?
No, they're all about.
the problem is there'll be different theories. The theories are that, yes, they did land, but in them days they were referred to as gods, so they were worshipped. So they would be more fearful of them, and they would worship them as gods, and they would have been able to have moved about unabated. Wouldn't have been an issue. Nowadays, the typical answer would be, who goes there? Bang.
Yeah.
We would want to test it. We'd want to steal the technology because it's greed.
Well, we have taken a lot of their technology.
Yeah, and there is now that things are slowly coming to light more and more about what has been seen, what has been discovered, and the chances are the fact that it's almost pretty much guaranteed we are not alone in the universe. They're having to become more upfront with things. And like we've said before on a previous show, the French are the only people that have got a website that is publicly accessible for people to view alien or UFO reports.
That's right. And the South Americans as well, very open about it all.
They're very open about it. I mean, us and the Danish were the last people to shut our government-funded UFO websites down, and it just left the French and South Americans. I can't remember which country it was now.
MUFON, but even MUFON now is obeying the government and going by government guidelines, and it shouldn't be. Yeah,
and MUFON's more worldwide, isn't it?
Yeah,
rather than individual countries.
I used to like MUFON, but since I've heard, since they came out saying we're following government guidelines, guys, it's no credibility in my life.
And the French haven't given a shit. They've just turned around and said, right, Jean-Claude from Lyon saw a UFO, blah, blah, blah. And they give you dates, they give you times, they give you locations. They tell you the lot, and they don't hold back. They just tell it as it is. And that open-mindedness is actually creating more believers than skeptics. There's more and more people are coming forward now and saying, I can believe that now. And this is why the people like United States, the president, and that they sort of inadvertently drop themselves in it by actually admitting it, or the Pope pulling his cardinals into the Vatican City and saying, You know, we've got to fit
combo.
this in.
Yeah.
You know, so that they're now having to accept the fact that these things are being seen and there is going to be contact at some point. So they're going to have to deal with it.
Well, all the stuff that you and I watch, and you know, I go on Gaia and I watch quite a few things on there as well. Andy's just said a very good thing there. Could this new world order be related to alien intervention? Everything is pointing towards this. We're supposed to have a proper, hi guys, we're here with aliens. It's next. I think it's meant to be next year. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But it's supposed to.
It's going to be one of two things. All of this business with one world order is going to be, again, it's going to be a Star Trek theory where it's going to be a world federation against the rest of the universe or the rest of known space.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be a welcome mat. It's going to be one of those two.
The trouble is I really hope that if it does happen, our governments don't go, oh, bang, 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 instead of actually being bloody sensible about it and going, oh, we better tell the truth, you know?
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, and I do apologise to any American friends and viewers that may be watching, but
Go on.
if with a bit of a twist of Hollywood and that, they've always been portrayed as being very gung-ho, and when something like that turns up on their doorstep, the first thing they're going to do is fire a rocket at it. Which, like you say, is something we do not want to do. We need to embrace them because they are bringing technology with them that we haven't experienced.
Joe, it's not going to be Mars attacks. No.
I don't. No, I don't.
Not going to be that.
Or War of the Worlds. It's not going to be like that.
We're supposed to have a visit from a benevolent.
I think if they're coming, it's going to be the beings that have been here before.
Yeah.
The ones that have been to Australia, the ones that have been to Peru and Egypt and India, any of the civilizations that have had and have had scriptures on the walls or on papyrus or paper or whatever that have actually got a record of visitors from another world coming to Earth. It's going to be those people that are coming back. Well,
it's one of the other things that I found out in these. I found interesting in these things we've been watching. I think you might remember it. Is when they were saying that Atlantis was their base, their home, and they made it their base, made it their home, welcomed in what was in that bloody area? They worship the bulls, and the only reason I had it then and it went. Anyway, they welcomed in these Greek type people, and said, "All right, come here, come and live in our land, and you can use our technology and we'll show you our technology." And they were saying that the only reason Atlantis went kaput is because they had a catastrophic failure of one of their artifacts. 0 point modules, whatever you want to call it. Minoans, the precursors to the Minoans, they invited them in to come and live with them. And we used to live in harmony with these guys who looked very much like us, just a little bit taller, a little bit weirder. Yeah, perhaps I'm related to one. Look at that.
Yeah, but that's what one of the videos, one of the films I watched actually mentioned, that there was something like 382 different species of humanoid in the universe.
Yep.
So
and it's not just us. There's lots of humans, but they think that there's humans out there who, like us, but slightly different. Like there's a version of me with hair and an incredibly large penis. I'll be chuffed with that. But you know,
well, the reason why human beings here have evolved the way we have is because of our environment and habitat.
That's right.
That is a prime example of evolution. If our habitat changes, so will we to actually compensate for that change in habitat. So on another planet where the genetic makeup of everything in its surroundings are slightly different, those beings are going to evolve differently. So they will look different.
Well, as I'll get to you in a second there, Joe. As Andy said, I believe that they abduct certain people whenever they want. So yes, maybe one of the things that Wayne and I watched, they talk about the whole reason they abduct is if there's certain planets that need virtually the seeding of life, need our DNA into it to help bring it back from the brink. They'll take some of us and then put us on that planet.
Yeah.
That's what they were talking about in some of them, wasn't it? And it
Yep.
makes a lot of sense. It really does. Joe, you got what's that? I've got a question for you both. Do you think aliens can visit you in your dreams? I think they can make you think you're having a dream, but I think that when you're properly dreaming, there is a school of thought that says because of we're the multiverse, universes, multi thingamybobs, yes, those things, dimensions. That when you dream, you're actually connecting with yourself in one of those alternate realities in a different dimension. I don't think aliens per se contact you in your real dreams, but I think they make you think you're dreaming.
I would say then they're communicating with you, but not necessarily in your dreams.
I think you're thinking.
There is obviously with the alien greys, they don't physically speak; they use telepathy.
Yeah.
So, if anything, what they're doing is they are maybe putting words into your head while you're sort of in the light sleep.
Like they do with us when we do the show live, you know.
Yeah, they are using. I think they're using telepathy to communicate with you while you're sort of on your verge of going into the deep sleep.
Yeah.
Because that tends to be when it's before the moment where your motion part of your brain switches off.
My only problem with some abductees who say that this all happens and they couldn't move and this, that, and the other, it is the fact that it happens just before deep sleep. Now, I've had sleep paralysis once. Luckily, I knew what it was, but when I can remember it now to this day, and very, very strange. If you didn't know what it was, you would freak out. You do see things, you do hear things, but you can't move. You can only move your eyes. But to those who don't know what it is, back a couple of centuries ago, it was being possessed or by a demon, or being bonked by a demon or
yes,
demonette.
The good old incubus and succubus.
Yep. So bring that forward to modern day parlance, and some people who again don't know what sleep paralysis is, possibly, I think some of it is sleep paralysis, where it's the modern day version of the incubus and succubus. You know.
Yeah. Andy, I agree with Andy on here. I've jumped a few comments because it was the last one that came in. As a child, I remember waking up at the garden gate, and it was very late, and still have no recollection of how I got there.
My ex
had exactly the same experience. I must have been about 7. I went to sleep in bed. When I woke up, I was half a mile away at our local playground. I was laying on the slide. I was in my pajamas, hadn't got a clue how the hell I got there, but I knew where I was, so I was able to walk back home again. And I got home, I walked in through the door, and my parents are standing in the hallway wondering why the hell I've just walked in through the front door. But I don't remember getting down there. So, you know, I mean, that would be, I mean, technically it'd be put down to sleepwalking. But sleep paralysis can have an opposite effect because it's all related to sleep apnea.
Yeah.
And like autism, there's loads of different branches of sleep apnea. There are the ones that will paralyze you while you're awake, but you can't move. There are the ones where you still move in your sleep, but you don't physically sleepwalk. And there was a case of that where a guy went on holiday with his wife in a caravan, and he dreamt that their house was being broken into, and he caught the burglar and he was strangling him. And when he woke up, he'd actually strangled his wife.
Yes, yeah.
It went to court because he was being prosecuted for murder, and he got away with it on a technicality because it was registered that he had sleep apnea, and he described what had happened in his dream, and they turned around and said he couldn't help it. It was the sleep apnea that caused it.
There is a rule. I don't know if it's in the RAF, but it's certainly in the army. When you're in battle conditions or you're on exercise or anything, if something jerks you awake like that from your sleep, there's been quite a few cases of like officer COs getting punched, strangled, shot, and there was a rule that you
Yeah.
don't do that. If you do jerk somebody awake like that, it's entirely up to you because you have to take what happens and you don't get.
You do. You put your life in your own hands. If you wake someone that's in a deep sleep suddenly like that, even with a sleepwalker,
yeah,
you know, if they're actually sleepwalking and you try to wake them up, that's the worst thing you could possibly do,
right.
because you might end up getting a swift kick in the nuts as punishment.
And you were both 7 when you got had these weird things coming. Hi, Murray. You were both 7.
I mean, there was a TikTok actually saying about waking someone up that they're in a deep sleep. There's a TikTok of some artillery guys. They've got their howitzer, and they've got a guy propped up against the side of a truck, and he's fast asleep.
Oh.
And all the other guys are all around, like the gun emplacement and the truck, and they're all standing there laughing because they know this guy's solidly asleep. They've brought in this artillery shell, and they've put it in the howitzer, and they've sort of like communicated with everybody. They've gone,
bastards.
and then all of a sudden they went bang, and this bloke, he's shot up and he's running around. His helmet's gone flying. He's running around in circles, wondering what the hell was going on. And all the rest of the guys are just creasing themselves with laughter. But that could have had a dangerous effect on him, because obviously that loud a noise, that's worse than just standing there trying to shake someone.
I don't know. I can remember once myself. What was that doing? Somebody was attacking me, and I was doing my kickboxing in my sleep. And I remember waking up, and I woke up just as I was about to, and I'm stop myself, and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like giving myself a proper back it in, you know. But it's amazing what your sleep can do to you, and what those motors that switch off when you dream. Sometimes they only partially switch off, and that's why a lot of things happen. But I think
apparently Ellen used to raid the fridge in her sleep.
What are you on about used to? She still bloody does.
She sleep eats.
With no food, no wake up and I'd have toast, crisps, biscuits, you name it in my bed.
Ellen, no, I've been to your house. I know what happens when you sleep eat. You raid the fridge and disappear with a cucumber, and then you hear Wayne a couple of minutes later going, "Ow!" So you know. Never, when you come down the next morning, never go to the fridge and have a bit of the cucumber that's got the top bitten off. Don't know how that happens.
Joe, oh my God, what about if both of you were abducted when you were 7 for a reason, and now you've been brought back together again for a reason? Well, this is the thing. If it is down to an alien abduction, which I personally put down to just sleep apnea, or a form of sleep apnea at the time. Although I was about 6 or 7, my granddad had just been killed. My mum and dad had divorced, and my dad had left. Yeah. The family was in a lot of turmoil at the time, and they say that stress can bring these sort of things on. So I can't say it would be anything like alien abduction. I would more lean to the fact of the family situation at the time was more the factor on that one.
I'll tell you that story in a minute.
But it could be either one. But it would also... I'm going to confess to something bizarre here, because after that,
it's not that thing with you and the chickens, is it?
No, I very strangely, and at some point when you come down to our new house, or the house we're moving to, I will show you, because it's still there 40 years later.
This sounds intriguing. Go
on. I put some emblems on the wall outside my old bedroom window, and they are bizarre, like a crescent moon with a star at a perfect angle to the points of the crescent. And some other figures, I haven't got the foggiest idea what they are or what they mean, but I put them on the wall outside my bedroom window, and they're still there now.
Were you awake when you did it?
I can't remember doing it. Apparently, I went into, I literally opened up my bedroom window and I painted in white these figures on the wall. And that was shortly after I'd been down. I ended up waking up down at the local playground.
Well, what you were just saying about the points of the crescent moon with the star, I can't remember what tribe, but there's a tribe in Africa who say that they came from the stars, and whenever you talk about their ancestors, they always say they came from the stars, and they point to a place in Alpha Centauri, and they've got the exact star charts, the star system. They can show you it, this, that, and the other. And this is an African tribe that still lives in mud huts and this, that, and the other, and they tell you all this stuff, and they know exactly how to get there, where this planet is, which star system it's in, and what the nearest star is to it. And it's the same with the Aboriginals when they talk about Dreamtime and before Dreamtime, and they talk about the rainbow snake and all that stuff. The same as when you hear about the Mayans and everything, and they talk about their gods, and when they describe all their gods, flaming serpents arrive roaring with flames shooting out of them, and this, that, and the other. Quetzalcoatl, the same, and he was one of the Aztec gods. Same thing, flaming snake gods, the feathered snake god, and they all talk about it. It would come down, and they go and pray to it, and then it take off again. On every single one of these, and when you look in all the different religions and stuff, as we've said before, it all literally, to modern day, we can look at it now and go, it's a bloody spaceship.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, when I'm down there next, I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it through to you. It is just so. I can't decipher what it's supposed to mean.
I can tell you a very strange story about literally what you and Andy have just said. My ex-wife, lovely woman, she told me once, and she doesn't like many people knowing about it, so I won't mention her name. I'll be nice. Anybody wants to know, just message me, all right? She told me once about when she was a teenager, and she was walking down her mum. She remembers going into her mum's back garden, and she said she came out the back door, and it was quite a long garden, and she got halfway down the garden, doesn't remember anything else, and then 3.5 hours later, she's walking back down the garden path, come to, and she's got a lump right in there in her hand, and she's had it x-rayed, and I've seen the x-rays, and there is a lump of metal in there that they don't know what it is. They won't take it out. But 3.5 hours later, she's walking back down this path with a lump in her hand, no recollection of what's happened. But she didn't want anybody to know in case anybody thought she was a nutter. I mean, she's nutter anyway, but not about that.
Yeah. I mean, like Joe said, take a picture of it and then research it. The only one I can remember off the top of my head is the crescent moon with a fairly sizable star that is supposed to be.
That really rings a bell with something.
And it's bizarre because what I've done is on the actual paint that I've used on the white paint, and I can't believe it's still there 40 years later. You've got the crescent moon, and then I've actually done little dashes leading to the point where the star is to actually signify the actual perfect angle from the crescents, the points of the crescent moon to that star. And that's the only one. But every time there's a crescent moon and I'm outside, I will look up and see whether there is a fairly brightish star at that angle of the crescent.
I'll bring my telescope. I'll come down sometime when we know it's going to be a crescent moon. I'll make sure I've got the fuel in that. If you want, I'll come down and bring the telescope, and you can have a proper look.
Yeah. So it's bizarre. It's bizarre to obviously. You got. I mean, like you just mentioned about your ex-wife. It's the time slip thing. It's almost as if they've gone. This is a being worth looking into. So up into the spaceship. A couple of hours later, come back.
He's associated with my ex-wife. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Plop you back down again. They may not be accurate exactly where they've put you back, but they've put you back in the rough vicinity. 3.5 hours later, you're waking up and you're like, hang on a minute, what's going on? Where am I?
Well, I mean, I over the course of the years of doing this, I've spoken to quite a few people who've said alien abduction, this, that, and the other. And to be absolutely honest, again, I'm not going to mention names. The majority of them, when they talk about it, it's I think you possibly saw something film or something when you were younger. But it's the ones like, and I'm not just saying it because it was my ex, but the ones like that and your one and Andy's one, very, very, very similar in what's happened, and it's those are the ones that make me go, ooh, you know. And the fact, like I say, she had this thing in her hand, and I had it X-rayed, and because they were going to take it out, and then they thought they couldn't take it out because it's too far in, and it's some kind of metal, and they don't know what it is, how it got in there. Nothing. I don't even know if she still got it to this day. But very. I mean, one thing I can tell you guys is I have seen quite a few UFOs, but normally when I've been beach casting, and when you look up in the sky, you'll see all these weird and wonderful lights moving in ways that none of our aircraft can. But my mum and I, and this is what's going to be the weird thing, when I was 7, I didn't get abducted or anything. When I was 7, my mum and I saw a cigar-shaped UFO 2 fields across from where we lived. We didn't see it come down. We didn't see it land. We didn't see it take off. And it was like it was a cigar, but it was like a reddish brown color. No visible doors, no visible windows. And it was just there, and it was hovering a couple of feet above the floor, or above the grass. And it was, Christ, it had to be about 75 foot long easily. And my mum saw it and I saw it. And I was like, what's that? And she's like, oh, nothing, don't worry about it. But it's always stuck in my head, that. Have you let rip? Has your cat let rip?
I think one of the cats have.
And there's another bizarre thing. Strange smells emanating.
But then also saying that, there's the one we saw at the church farm in Skegness.
Yes. And you and
again, although we didn't get a physical shape that we could see, all we saw was a light. And that's what first pinpointed us into saying that it was the International Space Station.
And we looked at all that, didn't we?
But the bizarre side of that was the fact that when it was bang overhead and was directly above us, it flashed. The flash lit up, but then it slowly went back down again to a normal sort of glow and then disappeared off over to the opposite horizon. And you look up on the International Space Station tracker, there was no satellites.
Yep.
The International Space Station and the Chinese Space Station were nowhere near where we were.
One of Elon Musk's one either.
No. So, you know, if you don't know what it is, it's got to be a UFO. It's unidentified because we couldn't identify it.
Didn't we get one of the other people there to look at it with us? The historian.
Yeah, there was the lady that worked there. She was standing there with us, wasn't she? Because we were talking to her about what happened in the barn.
Yeah,
but that was the 3 of us, but other people had seen it in another group as well. So it had been seen by about 6 people that night.
And what do you make of you know, that Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind? Because as I said, I've got the app. I paid for the app and I downloaded it. Very, very interesting. But when they have their meetups where all like-minded ufologists meet up and they do their energy thing and this, that, and the other, you dirty bitch. Yeah, I've got it now. Thank you. Bloody dog. When they do all their energy thing, they have loads and loads of sightings and they're documented and photographed and filmed and this, that, and the other. What do you make of that?
Yeah. The thing is, I agree that there needs to be. I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? I mean, I've noticed on TikTok lately that there's bloody Power Ranger boffs. Why? You know, so why can't you have something like a UFO convention where everybody that is interested in UFOs or think that they've been abducted by aliens or whatever can't all just meet up? We do it with ghosts.
Yeah.
You know, and again with ghosts or with spirits. You know, years ago, if you'd have said you'd seen a ghost, everybody would have laughed you out of the building.
Yep.
Nowadays, you might still get laughed at, but you certainly wouldn't get laughed out of the building.
Well, I mean, I've been to quite a few investigations where they have used energy to. You've seen it yourself, where they use energy to bring things forward and stir things up. The human pendulum, everything
Yep.
like that, and as you said, about 20 years ago, we'd have gone, yeah, right. But after having seen it and seen it happen so many times, it works. Don't know.
Yeah.
I can't explain how it works, but it works. I use energy in my protection. I use chi because that's how I was taught through, the martial side of it. And again, it works because it's my technique and I use. So does it? What do you reckon when they do it? Do you reckon it thins the doorway for them psychically?
Possible.
Because
You got to remember, and obviously, if we're looking at on the extraterrestrial side of things, if they're using telepathy, they are using their own energy to transmit words or pictures into somebody else's mind.
That's right.
Now, to do that, you need energy. So it's the same with anything. Spirits need energy to be able to do something or to be able to communicate. And that's why a lot of people, they'll use a spell of protection at the beginning of an investigation, and they will give their energy willingly, providing it's not too much, because the second you feel that you're being too...
I don't let them use my energy.
If you're being drained too much, you can just, you say to yourselves, right, I need to come out because I'm feeling tired. I need to come out. You then remove that person from that area so that they can get themselves back within working perimeters again. But things like the human pendulum or the human vortex, the human energy vortex, is a good way of building up the energy for spirits to use. Now, that the human energy vortex, is that a technique that would have been or has been or could still be used by extraterrestrials? Part of the evolution of their humankind, maybe that more advanced, that's where the telepathy is coming into it, where the evolution side is, it's bringing more and more into telepathy than physical speech.
Well, some of those, because you saw some of the photos that were taken of these beings that were communicating with only certain members of the group, and they were taking like, oh, what's that over there? Taking the photos, and they were quite compelling photos. Some of them, weren't they?
Yeah.
So I was just reading the messages coming up. Hang on. What you got to remember is everything is a vibration. Everything is a frequency. If we didn't vibrate or have a frequency, our atoms would fall to bits. And when you cross over, it's a different vibration, different frequency. So that creepy feeling you get when there's somebody near you, the easiest analogy for you guys out there to grasp it with is when you get two magnets, and instead of attracting them, when you turn them around and get them to push each other because of the different polarities, that's that creepy feeling that you get. That is when somebody of a different frequency, different vibration is near you, and it affects you, and you can feel it. And it's just like the two magnets being pushed. They know they're there, but they can't touch. And it's the same.
Joe's just made a point there that I want to alter, because Joe said there's no such thing as time. Therefore, you could blink and be gone and be back at the same time. There is something called time. However, that is a man-made invention. Yeah. Humankind invented time because humankind looked at the sun and they counted how long it was going to take to go the Earth to go around the sun. So time comes into play there at some point. So although there is such a thing as time, time's never ending. It's endless. Even if the sun was to blow up tomorrow, time would still continue somewhere else.
I think one day there is going to be somebody will invent, because as Andy said earlier, that he said, isn't there a warp engine being invented? Yes, there is a warp engine being invented. We've spoken on it out here quite a few times. There was a impulse engine and a warp engine, and it's a real thing, and they are being invented, and it's going to be here in the next few years. But mathematically, time travel is possible, and mathematically, if you can build something that creates a pocket, folds space. So, say like you've got our timeline, you and me, but we want to go back and see what we did 2 weeks ago. We can get our timeline, fold it, and create a doorway just to go. Boop, oh, okay, and then come back again. And they reckon that sometime they should be able to invent that.
Yeah, and that's where the things like wormholes come into it. And the basic theory has always been, if the sun's light travels at a certain speed, and you want to travel at that speed, because if it only takes 8 minutes for light to get from the sun to the Earth, that would be great if we could get that distance into space from the Earth to wherever. To only take 8 minutes would be brilliant. So you have to look at how long or how you're able to get to that speed. Well, light doesn't weigh anything. So to be able to travel as fast as the speed of light, you've got to weigh 0.
Yeah.
To travel faster than the speed of light, you've got to find a way of being -0. And that is where technology and energy comes into it, where the what they say with the UFOs, they've got that field around them, and that field around them allows that vehicle to be a negative energy or negative mass, which allows them to travel at those speeds.
And that's why they can go into the water as well and travel at speed.
So for traveling as fast or faster than the speed of light is always going to be possible. The only thing that makes it impossible is the technology of today.
There is no gravity in space, Joe, but every single thing that's in space still has got a mass, and it still does have, although there's no gravity, it still has a weight. So you've got to get that mass down to negative to be able to go faster than that.
And obviously things like the planets do have a gravity, but that gravity only works up to a certain distance away from that planet. It's like the same with the sun. The sun has a gravity, and that's why the planets are in the solar system position that they are. Because it's been the sun's gravity and combination of all the other planets' gravity, gravitational pulls, that has affected where those planets are in position to the sun. That's why we don't get any closer or we don't get any further away, because the gravity from the sun and the other planets and everything else in the solar system have kept everything where it is.
It'd also be like a game of pool. Can you imagine that? Just the slightest touch. And
was it Third Rock from the Sun, the starting sequence of Third Rock from the Sun, when all the planets start bouncing off of each other? If there was no gravitational pull from the sun, that'd be what the planets would be doing. They'd just be whizzing through space at 1,000 miles per kilometers an hour or whatever it is, and bouncing off of things and smashing into things.
Nibiru, I still want to know what that massive object is that they found on the edge of our universe that's getting closer. And that thing near the sun as well.
The thing is with that is, again, it's always going to be that 100 years ago, these things weren't there. But then 100 years ago, the technology to see these things weren't there either.
Well,
telescopes, although telescopes were around, the telescopes weren't clear enough or have the zoom enough, or the technology wasn't there for us to be able to see those things clearly. Now the technology is there, and the pictures are more clearer, the zoom's a lot better, you can see a lot closer. You're able to see these things, and then all of a sudden it's, oh, hang on a minute, we've got another planet here.
Well, these two things have been measured with the same instruments over the course of a couple of years, and this whatever it is has been watched coming in to our universe, and it's right on the edge of the universe, but they've watched it coming in, and it's planet size. They don't know what it is, and it's that's when all the people are going, oh, Planet Nibiru, I think it's possibly something going behind another planet. I don't know, but and there's also supposed to be that massive UFO near the sun.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what to make of that. I mean, that could just be an asteroid. Again, until technology is able to analyze it to actually see what its chemical composition is, people are going to speculate. Oh, it's an odd shape. Well, it's a UFO. No, it could be a meteorite. It could be just a chunk of rock. And the way people look at it all is wrong, because if you look at the planets in the solar system, all we were to start off with was a collection of rocks and gases. And the individual gravitational pulls formed them into balls, which made the planets.
Well, that's how they reckon the moon was made, wasn't it? Because they're talking in the chat room about the moon leaving our orbit slowly.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, yeah. But do you have to keep doing that, Ghost? Good God.
Well, can I quickly answer Joe and Andy's question?
Yeah.
But yes, they have heard right. Again, this is all because of technology. But they are saying that the moon is moving away from the Earth 3.78 centimeters per year. So by the time our great grandchildren will notice that the moon has gone far enough away. And I'm reading this now. I'm sitting here going about all these people that saying about global warming's making the water rise. The moon is moving away from Earth, and the moon is responsible for our tides. So surely the moon's moving further away, which affects our tides. That means the water's rising and dropping at different times, higher and lower than normal. Could that be the 3.78 centimeters a year difference?
And it affects the weather as well. Look at everything that's been going on lately.
Exactly. So then the answer. Conspiracy theorists, that's what it is.
See, I love talking about the UFOs, and everybody likes talking about it. So I reckon next week carry on with the UFOs, but I also think we should bring a few of the latest conspiracy theories into play. What do you think?
Well, actually, I think the biggest conspiracy theory is about global warming, because I was talking to a geography teacher about 5 years ago, and he told me then that global warming actually stopped 16 years before.
And the hole in the ozone layer is supposed to be almost healed
fixed
up now.
Yeah. But again, I say to people, it's because the problem is what we don't realise is it's all right looking at immediate history, but you've got to look at long-term history as well, because we've always had what is called an ice age, and we've also had a greenhouse age.
And we have an extinction event as well.
Yeah, well, the mass extinction events they're sort of a sideline thing, aren't they? They're not something that the Earth automatically goes through.
No, I think now we're a lot more prepared to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
So it's not
but with the life cycle of the Earth, it goes through ice ages and then a greenhouse age. So you've got the ice age where it chills down. Then you get the greenhouse age where things warm up. Then you get an ice age where things cool down again. And it's been going like that for millions of years. But the fact is we haven't been able to record it. All we can do is drill holes in glaciers and have a look at how deep they go and what's in them core samples as to ascertain what type of life was there to find out how old that glacier is. So all we're going through is the greenhouse age, and then it's going to get to another ice age again.
That lake, Antarctica, they drilled down, didn't they? Was it 3 miles into that freshwater lake that's underneath, and it hasn't seen the light of day for something like 100,000 years or whatever? And there's supposed to be some kind of weird octopus thing in there, isn't there?
There's all sorts down there, and it's, I don't know why, to be honest, but it makes me giggle when no country is allowed to claim Antarctica as its own. There was even a treaty signed where every country that wants to be involved with Antarctica had signed to say they wouldn't have any ownership of Antarctica. And the weirdest part is you can't go down there as a tourist unless you've been cleared by the military.
And there's that bit of Antarctica that was opened up and found, and all the world leaders had to go there. Was that about 5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All world leaders went there. It was hushed up. You couldn't get cameras in there. You couldn't get in the airspace. Nothing. But a couple of whistleblowers have said they actually unearthed a city, an alleged city that had technology we have never seen the likes of.
Yeah.
And this city was like 50,000 years old or something. And
Something isn't right down there, because although it's a scientific expedition, it's not owned by any one person. It's owned by the world. However, only scientists can go there, and if you do go there, you've got a military escort. Security is run by the military, not private firms. The government's militaries. Why?
And they all have to sign an NDP as well, don't they?
Yeah. If it was open to everything, I mean, if it's open to the whole world, why can't the whole world just go there? Obviously, it would have to be specially organised so that you don't affect the environment. But why military security?
See, I think a lot of it, and we've spoken about this before at length, is they've possibly found something. They've found all this tech. They may have even found UFOs, some sort of flying machine. But because the governments are so bloody greedy, and they seem to think that the population of the world are so bloody naive that none of us could handle the fact that there may be aliens, there may have been precursors to us, when in actual fact, if they let the majority of the world make their own bloody minds up, we're ready for it. We're not stupid. We know that there's been things before us, and we know that there will be things after us. We also know that there's people coming in from other places and visiting us. We're not daft. They just need to stop being so bloody greedy with all the tech and everything and start being honest for once.
I think one of the problems there, though, is like we've come across before, is religion. We spent thousands of years of our lives being governed by religion's do's and don'ts. And we've been blindsided for that amount of time. We have been blindsided from the truth, and now it's actually being revealed. More and more people nowadays are more open-minded. There's more religions out there. It's not just 2 or 3 religions. It's half a dozen, hundreds of different religions out there.
It's true, Joe. Governments aren't honest.
I'm thinking next week I might start my own religion up just for a laugh, because there's so many out there. But all those religions are all going to come to nothing when aliens turn up and go, "Hello, mate, I brought some technology with me." And all these religions in the world are all going to go, "Oh, shit, we've been preaching this for no reason."
It's, as we've said on a number of occasions, and we mentioned it very quickly earlier at the beginning of the show, all the religions are a bunch of rules written by man to govern man. When you look at all the different religions and all their different holy books, they all have their main events that have happened at the same time, in the same timeline, just appearing differently to the different cultures. Now, the governments are still going, "Oh, no such thing as aliens." My ass, we know there are. Why is it that the head of the Catholic faith, the Pope, can have that conclave he had for 2 weeks with all his top guys, and they've all turned around and said, yes, there are aliens. Yes, it brings into matter our God. Is it the same as their gods? We need to be respectful and say, yeah, come down here, guys. We're not going to hurt you. For the head of Catholic faith to say that, yet the world governments are the ones going, "Oh no, pew, 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 pew." That tells you something.
But also, as well, you have the wonderful man, Mr. Ronald Reagan, with his Star Wars program.
And he openly
admitted on a live press conference that the reason or the theory behind the Star Wars program isn't about defense from other countries. It was from defense from other planets as well. And he openly said that in a press conference back in the 80s.
Obama said a bit about it as well.
Bill Clinton, he's done the same. And what's, the reason behind Space Force?
Well, even that idiot Trump hinted that they know there is something there, but although they're the president of America, they're still not the ones who are pulling the strings. They have their strings pulled.
Yep. Well, we've seen that with Biden, haven't we? Anyway, we're going the wrong direction now.
Yes, no, let's get off politics.
We're going into politics and we don't want to do that.
The main populace of the world know there's something out there. We know we're not alone. And as Andy's just said, control of the masses, but it's not working anymore. Yes, we are starting to wake up and go, do you know what, mate? Bugger off. We'll make our own minds up. And it needs to happen. It really needs to happen.
The thing is where did it go wrong? Because if you look at most cultures around the world back in history, you will find that most cultures have had an extraterrestrial experience, and it has been recorded, and it is there in front of everybody's faces. It's just been altered to make it look like something else.
Because back along, we discovered science, and back then, in a lot of the major papers, the main guys of the day said, no, there's no way things could come from other planets. Because they based it on the technology we have. That's why.
I wonder how many Aborigines that still live in the deserts of Australia and near where the cave paintings and that are. I wonder how many of them will turn around to you and say, bullshit, there's no such thing as aliens.
Yeah.
Because I bet you they're the only people that will still teach the original teachings from the original cave paintings that are on their walls that depict a spaceman wearing a helmet.
Same with the Aztecs and the Mayans and all these weird and wonderful tribes that are everywhere. As you said, they all talk about their brothers, their star brothers that came from out there.
And their cultures are still the same as they were thousands of years ago, before Western society got involved and started coming out with all these star-fangled bloody religions and everything else. And
look at mine. I'm Irish. And I'm from the Southern Ireland, not Northern Ireland, so it's nothing. It's Jesus, I'll fight you for a favour. They all talk about the Tuatha De Danann, and the Tuatha De Danann were the people before the Celts, and the Tuatha De Danann, because I've done previous shows about it, and that had technology. They had gateways, they had doorways, they had repulsor stuff, they had craft, they had lasers, and this, that, and the other, and they were put down as folk tales and elves. Why? Yeah. Who's to say it wasn't? Who's to say it was memory being passed on and passed on and passed on? And it got to a certain point where people just didn't understand what it meant.
And again, these people that were before the Celts, were they similar to the Atlanteans?
Yeah,
same sort of technology.
Yep, very similar, very similar.
So it's all I don't know. It's all strange. I mean, I was watching one the other day about the Bermuda Triangle.
They're just talking about that in the chat room.
The amount of, well, they're talking about devil's triangles. The Bermuda Triangle, I personally think, is a load of hogwash.
The Bermuda Triangle has been proved. There's one island out there that it has magnetite. Its main base rock is magnetite, and it was the magnetite that was buggering up early stuff.
I've travelled twice through the Bermuda Triangle and not had any issues whatsoever.
Because you've got modern stuff now.
Exactly. So it's you send a metal plane out there across, and you go over that island. Your instruments are going to go haywire. You are going to have issues with your flight control.
We'll get to that in a second, Joe, because we've always said something about this.
Yeah, well, that's in the name, isn't it? But you are going to get issues with your instruments when you go over something that's got a lot of magnetite in it. Your instruments are going to go bananas.
Joe has said, but is this thing we all call religion just different alien forms? Now, we've spoken about it before, and it's one of my pet theories, is all religion back along, they all pretty much started around about the same time, apart from the Catholic faith, which was started after a conclave of all the different religions. So all the original religions pretty much started around about the same time. All their gods have these flying chariots and this, that, and the other. And they all starts at the same time. Different cultures. So how about either precursors or people from other places who appear to those different cultures in a form or guise that they would understand, and those cultures look at them as gods because of the technology and that they have and the guise that they appear to them as.
Yeah, and the Catholic Christian faith are responsible for changing a lot of things for the worse.
Yeah.
You know, you take Christmas, for instance. Jesus Christ wasn't born on the 25th of December.
I don't know.
You know, but the problem was Christmas, or Yule as it was known, was all a pagan festival. And Christ was supposedly born on the 27th of January, and they felt that the two celebrations were too close to each other, so they moved Christ's birthday to the 25th of December to coincide with Yule, and then Father Christmas became Saint Nicholas.
Saint Nicholas, do you know what he originally was?
Saint Niklaus, or Niklaus.
He was the patron saint of prostitutes. And the whole reason we've got the stockings thing is he would go along when they used to.
I thought that was his brother Krampus that used to do all that.
No. He has very strange views about stuff. That guy. When the ladies of negotiable virtue would wash their stockings and hang them out on the line, he would go along, and if he knew they were poor, he'd put some money or a bit of coal in and stuff like that. And that's how the Saint Nicholas thing started. Patron saint of ladies of negotiable virtue. Krampus. Oh, yeah. Now, if you have this little German guy here, you'll be very naughty, we'll throw you in the sack, and I shall beat you with the stick. I shall take you to this big, huge tree, and I'm going to hoist you up into that tree, and I'm going to eat you later.
That's Nicholas's brother.
Yeah.
The evil version. So you had Father Christmas was the good boy, and Krampus was the nasty one. He was the one responsible for punishing all the naughty children. And Father Christmas was responsible for giving to all the good children.
And again, it's a thing to rule to make sure you toe the line.
Exactly.
But I love Christmas, so.
Yeah. I mean, I love Christmas. Apart from Halloween, Christmas is my favourite time of year.
Yeah.
You know, so.
That was Krampus, Joe. That was the German Krampus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wolfie
You're
Krampus.
not been good this year. You're going to the top. So, you know, religion has been responsible for diverting people's eyes away from the truth. And they've done it for thousands of years.
Well, you look at when the Roman Catholics had that conclave of all the different religions. Mary had her own Bible. And at the end of the day, a Bible's just a book that tells you facts and story and things about somebody from the past. And Mary had her own Bible, and because it was all men that did the conclave, they did not think that they should include a women's Bible in there, so they chucked it out. You know,
they withheld the book. I think it's the Book of Magdalene, isn't it?
Yeah, which also says that Jesus was married and they had kids, and Jesus was a normal dude. You know, very clever. Normal bloke. He may have come from elsewhere, or his mum and dad may have come from elsewhere, but he was still a normal bloke, clever, had normal passions, got married, had kids. Good on him, you know?
Yeah. Andy, I want to do that as well. The Krampus parade in Germany, because they do celebrate Krampus as well as Father Christmas.
He also wants us to have our own, our own UFO, where do you put it?
Yeah, UFO convention.
Yeah, I think we should. I think that's something we could arrange.
Well, I think MUFON might argue it and turn around and say, you know, why don't you just sort of tell your people to come to ours?
No. You can have a dark mirror UFO convention. I think that'd be brilliant.
And you know what you were saying about the languages with the aliens? They speak all languages than humans could, but we don't know it yet. The thing is you could go down the road, Joe, with something very similar to what they did with Star Trek. And that is it's basically a section of your brain. With Star Trek, it was something that you had that actually enabled you to translate anything an alien was saying. But we're saying here that is it possible that our brain is automatically going to change the language so that we understand it, because that's how humankind figures it out. Like we go to school and we learn German, we learn Spanish, Russian, Chinese, chavvy English. So the thought is that the aliens know where we are, and the aliens, having the intelligence that they've got, are going to be able to know what language we speak, and are going to be able to speak that language.
Universal
Because
translation.
they ain't stupid.
Babelfish.
So, eh?
A babelfish. But you know what I
So-
mean? A universal translator, something so small you could put it in your ear, not a live fish, but you could put it in your ear and it hears what they're saying and puts it straight into your head.
Yeah,
The translation. I think
that's the
there's
hitchhiker.
something like that
That's
out
the
now.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, isn't it?
The
babelfish.
babelfish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fish about that long, you stick it in your ear and it translates.
So they're not. I mean, aliens ain't stupid, and if they were to pop down at someone in the south of France, they'd talk to them in French. It's commonly said that English is the universal language. It's not. It's the planetary language, because we've never actually physically spoken to an alien from Pluto or from planet Zog in whatever star system.
Hello, Pluto.
So they're not necessarily going to come down necessarily speaking any type of language that we can understand, but they have probably got the technology where they will be able to speak in a language that we'll understand. Their own language will be complete gobbledygook to us.
Well, there is a universal translator out now. It's full of glitches because they're talking about it in there. And I think, not Jeremy Clarkson, not Richard Hammond, the other one,
James May.
James May, he had it in Japan when he did his show all about Japan. He was using it over there, and it's full of glitches. So, but I think...
Didn't he try to do his... Didn't he try to do his poem on it, didn't he?
That's right. When we're born, we don't know a language. So every single person has got that thing in them that can translate any language, because you can take a baby from England, bring them up in, say, Central Africa, they're going to understand that language. Or take one and put it in the middle of South America, they're going to understand that language. So it's inside us to translate all the time. So surely, as you were saying, there must be a way of tapping that so that when we hear all these different things, we can just automatically go, and translate it.
Yeah.
So,
Indeed.
yes. What time is it?
20 past 10.
Well, people have been enjoying it, so why not? And to be absolutely fair, I love it when we have these talks and these discussions, and when all you guys get involved in the chat room, it really makes it for us, we're like, yes.
Joe's made a good point there. You don't have to use a language. Physical movement is also a key thing. All you've got to do is smile or hold out your hand, but you don't know whether holding out your hand in their society is classed as an insult or not.
It's the same with kissing as well.
Even a smile could be classed as an insult. I mean, you could go to some cultures on this planet and smile, and that could be seen the wrong way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure whether it's Cantonese or Chinese. You can say Mao, as in mother, and end up calling someone a horse instead. There's something like 24 ways to say that one word, and it has so many different meanings. You have to know which way to say it, or you're going to upset them.
Well, that's why they say English is according to the rest of the world, English is the most difficult language to learn, purely because we have so many colloquialisms for one bloody word.
Do you know what? I actually looked this up the other day because I said the same thing to someone else.
Because I'm learning Cantonese and I'm finding it bloody difficult. But I suppose if I was a Chinese person learning English, and then you've got all the different slang and the colloquialisms and the accents and the different words for the same bloody thing, it must get really confusing.
Right. Okay.
No, the theory about aliens not having sex is only with greys because they're supposed to be asexual clones and replicants. The rest of them, like the Nordics and the reptilians and that, they're supposed to have sex.
Right. The hardest, this is a bit strange actually, we're going completely askew. The hardest languages to learn in the world for English speakers is Mandarin, is the highest.
Yeah.
Followed by Icelandic, then Japanese, then Hungarian, then Korean, Arabic, Finnish, and then Polish.
Oh, I can count to 10 in Korean. That's about it.
But they do say that the English language is widely regarded as one of the most difficult to master because of its unpredictable spelling and challenging to learn grammar. It is challenging for both learners and native speakers.
Yeah, yeah.
But I came across something that Chinese is more difficult than English. The Chinese need both sides of the brain to grapple with challenges of Mandarin, but English speakers listen with only half their minds on the job.
It's about right, really, isn't it? But it's like with English, when you go to different parts of the countries, they have their own set of slang for various things. Like Hull. Hull's got its own set of slang that's unique to Hull. London, you know, I know a lot of rhyming slang, but now you've got all this bollocks words that comes out of London, you know, like peng and shit like that. Oh, don't even get me started on it. But just when you get used to one set of colloquialism, another one comes out.
So I said, didn't I, that Mandarin was the hardest for English speakers to learn. But I've now gone the other way and looked at what is the hardest language to learn for non-English speakers. And apparently, for non-English speakers, it's Arabic, then Cantonese, Japanese, Korean, and then Mandarin.
Oh, okay.
Native Japanese speakers, on the other hand, have considerable difficulty learning the English language. So, it again, you know,
about backslang. And there's various different forms of backslang. Like the one I know is where my name would be Arkma, and that would be Ainwa. And you've just done a different one. And there's so many different countries have their own version of backslang. But yeah, it does.
So what I want to know is the theory goes, aliens don't have sex. So how do they reproduce?
Ann Summers.
No, I to be honest, I think aliens do reproduce. They don't get with it like we do.
Some do. Apparently some do.
Yeah, I'd say the majority of the greys that we see don't, because they don't have any physical genitalia that we have seen.
They're supposed to be replicants, aren't they?
That could be their bodysuits. It's just that fear.
Have you ever had a good probing, Joe? Maybe an alien will come down and you'll have a dream. I had a good probing the other night. What happened? Don't remember much, but I know I got probed.
But you see, we're getting to a stage now where we can have artificial insemination. We're doing away with the need to have sex.
No, I don't think you'll ever do away with the need to have sex. Jesus Christ, I've not had it for a few months and I'm already licking the walls, you know. But I think when you've come to so far an advanced state like the greys and the big greys and little greys, that the majority say that they're all clones or replicas or whatever. But when you've got like the Nordic aliens, you've got the Chinese type ones and the reptilian ones and all the other ones, they're supposed to have sex. Some of them, I don't want to know how they have sex because it's going to be nasty jungle shit. I don't want to know, you know. And when they talk about a probing, just don't go near them. They'll have a pack of Lurpak butter in one hand and something like an egg whisk in the other. Don't go near them.
But the thing is, though, in years to come, when mankind or humankind explores into space and starts venturing out and meeting different species,
yeah,
that is going to be one of the things that human beings are going to want to know. You know, we turn around to them and go, well, where's that third arm come from? Or where's your third eye come from? What do you do with this? And how does your society work like that? One of the questions will be, how do you shag?
Well, there's been quite. We've spoken about them before. Do you remember the cases of the security guards in South America who were whisked up into a ship by these Nordic beauty aliens, and they were vigorously ravaged on several occasions, and then put back on Earth, and then taken back up again, put back on Earth, taken back up, and you're like, you look at the dude, and you're like,
one of them's a repeat offender. But
I mean,
but we will. I mean,
we've never discussed alien sex. We've actually come to that tonight. Thank you, everybody in the chat room. It's your fault.
Yeah, but that is the thing, and that is a question that the scientists will ask. How do you, not necessarily how, they're not just going to turn around and go, oh, by the way, how do you shag? They're going to turn around and say, how do you, as a race, reproduce?
Gary's just said, do we ask that question before we shoot them or after? We come in peace, hump to kill, hump to kill.
Yeah,
I
nice.
volunteer for these Nordic ones. I'll volunteer to find out. You want to come down? I don't care. I'll quite happily. I'll answer the questions. If they come down, I'll let you know. All right.
Yeah.
If I'm not walking in a very strange way next week, you know it didn't happen.
But obviously, I mean, Gary's point there is that, you know, obviously, if they do come down and visit, you know, are we going to be like the movies say and try and blast them off the planet and say, excuse me, you don't belong here, which obviously would have been, because of religion, would have been the answer to it, because they want to maintain the fact that we're the only living thing in the universe, because that's what religion has always said.
Yeah, which is all bollocks.
But now they can't hide it. They've got to accept it. So now they've got to have a different viewpoint, and they've got to make peace, because if they're that more technology advanced, they are going to wipe us off the face of the earth before we even get far around.
And the sex part of it, when you look at the ancient Sumerian texts and they talk about the Anunnaki and this, that, and the other, and they say that the Anunnaki took the apes and then molded them into their image. They altered their DNA so that they'd be like us, and they made it so that they could have sex to make replicas of their image. And all the religious texts talked about made in their image. But what it means is we ended up being able to have sex and reproduce and replicate because our DNA was altered by someone. Yeah. And it's proof. Even scientists have said we went from shitting in our hands and clapping to going, I say, old bean, look at my farm, within 20,000 years. And in evolutionary terms, that's stupidly, ridiculously fast. And somebody altered our DNA. They don't know who did, but it's been proved our DNA was altered. So we obviously had to be able to reproduce. So the aliens or our visitors from outer space have to be able to reproduce.
Right, Joe's just asked two questions. One was about the aliens having like a queen.
Yep.
Like the bees. There probably are species of aliens out there that do have a hive mind.
Yeah, probably.
Where they have a queen or a king that runs the roost, and you know, like ants do on this planet. Or they have a
king who is a queen.
It's quite possible that there is species out there. Species.
Yeah, species.
Yeah. Maybe there is a species out there that has got a hive mind. And then the other one about the shape-shifting. Again, same question, same answer. You know, it's quite possible that there are shapeshifters out there. People that are able to morph, or aliens that are able to morph into something else, not quite like polymorph in Red Dwarf.
Look at the gods, how they appear to the different cultures. We spoke about it earlier.
It would have to be something of a similar size, because unless they've got the technology to manipulate mass, it's got to be something of the same size as their original shape. So if they're a 6 foot tall being, they have got to stay within them parameters, because you can't shrink down to a 2-inch sized bird, because the masks don't work.
Yeah.
So they would have to stay in the comparative mass of things.
I'm not going to talk about the COVID vaccine on here. For the simple fact, it causes too many arguments, and I've had to ban a couple of people off our group because they were pushing forward some very radical ideas, which I don't think belong on here. Everybody has their own thoughts and ideas about the COVID vaccine, but I think it's too prominent at the moment for us to bring up as a proper topic of discussion.
No, I think you'd have to set up a COVID page to be able to do something like that. Simply because the problem when you go down that road is there are so many different theories. I mean, we could be talking about that one subject for hours on end. Oh, I've seen this video and I've seen that video. Again, it could be very similar to religion being forced onto people. This is how we want you to lead your life. It could be another way of doing it. Not necessarily, but it could be. We know for a fact, and it is fact, that COVID has been around since at least 1968.
Yeah.
We know that because there's evidence of it. Well,
you can't have something in a lab without having a cure for it.
Exactly. I also know for a fact, because it's in the Doctor's Medical Journal of 1989, that COVID caused 15% of the common cold. I closed my case.
And then all of a sudden it's gone boom. See why you won't talk about it on here?
No, it's just another way of life. It's just another way of trying to force you into a way of being. You'll always have the anti-vaxxers, you'll have the ones that want it. And it's going to be the same with whether you believe in aliens or whether you don't believe in aliens, whether you believe in ghosts or whether you don't believe in ghosts. And that's the amazing thing about human beings. We have the right to think and choose the state of being we desire through the use of our thoughts and actions.
Well, it's like poor old Andy, as he says, that he had it 3 weeks ago. I was talking to him and he sounded rough as hell. And I'm glad you're still here, mate.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I've had the jabs. I'm okay. I'm okay.
And I haven't really been talking with a Russian accent. Yeah, I mean, we can, you know, we can take the piss out of it. I mean, you know, this strain's been around obviously since 2019. I've tested every two days a week ever since it all started, and not once have I come up with a positive, and not once have I had it. No, I've been lucky, but again, I think this may be my alien connection because I'm not allergic to anything, and I've never had the flu, and I've never had the common cold. Why? Yeah, but why?
No, so you know what? I know a few people like that. Never get colds, never get flu, anything. And because I've got low immune system, because I've had cancer so many times, and I've had chemo twice, that fucked my immune system. So that's why I was so rough 2 weeks ago. Is because anything that comes out, generally as a rule, I'll catch it and it's 10 times worse. So I've been panicking like mad. I don't want to get COVID, so I've tried to stay out of it. I've been jabbed. I've had some nasty flu type shit with strep throat, but I've done all the tests and never had COVID. You know, my next door neighbor has. Next door neighbor nearly died from it, and he was in the hospital for weeks. But you know, didn't come through.
When I go into a doctor's and I fill out the forms and they say, "Oh, have you ever had this? Have you ever had that?" And I'm like, no. Are you allergic to anything? No. Do you need glasses? No. Do you need this? Do you know? And I'm like, no, all the way down. I'm like, look, am I going to say no to everything on this list? Yes. There we go. You know, those forms would be a hell of a lot easier. But you know, I mean, my sister suffers really badly from hay fever. Ellen gets hay fever really badly. Tamsin's got an intolerance to eggs, so's Freddie. And yet me, I'm not allergic to anything. Well, and I've never been hit with a flu.
COVID, we all know COVID's out there. It's real. We all know somebody who's lost somebody from it. One of my friends, their other half lost it. I think it was his dad, his mum, and brother or something else. And it's bloody terrible what it's doing. But the thing is, as you said, COVID has been with us for quite a long time.
Yeah.
To me, somebody in a lab has been messing around with a strain of it and somehow it's got out of that lab.
Well, it's where it's been misconstrued somewhere along the line where somebody turned around and went, "Oh, it's very similar to the flu." Yes, in a sense, it is very similar to the flu. But what they're trying to say is that the flu itself, as a virus, it will go through the general population at a certain time of year because it's weather dependent. It doesn't thrive in the cold. It only thrives in the warmth or the moist, sort of moderate air. As soon as it gets too cold or too hot, the flu goes. The flu can't stand extreme temperatures, so it travels. It goes off, migrates elsewhere, but in the process of migrating, it mutates. So the following season, it comes back. It comes back as a different form of flu. And that's why those that have to have the flu jab every year have to have it every year, because that flu strain has altered. And it's been the same with COVID. COVID does the same. It mutates.
Yeah.
It's a clever virus.
It is. And like I say, it's suddenly getting out of a virology lab where you know yourself, you can't have these viruses without having the bloody curse for them. So, yeah, as Andy said, his missus does work for a chain that does supplements and things like that. I take supplements and things as well because of the cancer. And you're right. Luckily, it's not often I get ill, but when I do, it's a humdinger, But I think the supplements really help. Really, really do help.
I think a lot of, and I'm not going to go. I'm diverging away from the COVID situation. I'm now going to say about human beings in general. It's things like the BMI, your body mass index. It takes your height.
I don't agree with after that.
It's bullshit. I'm saying BMI is bullshit because it's your body mass index, and that goes by your height, your age, and your weight.
I'm supposed to be morbidly obese, but as you know yourself, I teach kickboxing. And I'm literally a square. I'm like with tiny legs, and I'm not fat or overweight. I can kick up there, and
I mean, I've got one next week. I've got my free NHS health check, my MOT, and the last time I had mine, which was 4 years ago, I think it was, she went, "You're morbidly obese." So I went, "Right," and she said, "We need to get you back into the right level." I said, "Right, now you're going by the BMI, aren't you?" And she went, "Yeah." I said, "If you were to go by the NACNI guidelines, which is what it used to be before BMI came out, you would find that I'm borderline on my average to my ideal to above average weight. So I'm not morbidly obese." And she's like, "Right." And she went, "You seem to know a bit about this." And I said, "Because I've done health and hygiene courses, I've done nutrient courses, and along with my chef's courses, I know that the human body needs a little bit of everything along with exercise. And providing the body gets everything, there would be no such thing as being overweight. But the body gets overweight because it has one thing more than others. Or it's substituted one thing more than others. So somewhere along the line, if you come out of that wavelength, you're going to have an issue either way." And she was like, "Well, that's a good point. So we'll ignore the BMI."
I'm 14.5 stone, and according to the BMI, I'm morbidly obese. As you know, I do all the chop socky stuff, and I walk the dog and everything. And as to what you just said about me having tiny legs, Joe, I literally I'm 5'8", but I have an inside leg of 27 inches. I can kick 6'2", but I have 27-inch inside leg, and I'm literally Mr. Do you remember Mr. Strong, the square with dinky legs, a set of arms, and a bald head? Me. That's it. I'm douched with tiny legs.
I mean, I'm 6 foot, just under 6 foot. And I'm 16.5 stone. Apparently, clinically obese. Yet, if you were to put me in a sprint race against me, my son Ethan, and my daughter Chloe, and I'd be miles ahead of them. I beat them every time. Every time we have a little run race, I'm miles ahead of them. I'm fitter than they are, and yet they don't smoke. They don't eat crappy foods all the time. Yeah, I do. I'm quite happy to sit here and plough through a packet of biscuits in one sitting.
It's amazing how the chemo screws you up, because I've always been fit. I've always been really quite fit. And then since having the chemo, like I say, if I don't take the supplements, I'll catch everything that's going, and I'm and it's just amazing how it does muck you up.
You have to. I mean, it's like I say, with the NACNI guidelines, it's everything. The human body needs some of everything for it to function. It's like all these health freaks that go off to the gym on a daily basis and get themselves to end up with 0% fat. The human body cannot exist with 0% fat. It needs to have a minimum amount. And my ex's mum done exactly the same thing. She would go to the gym for hours on end every day, and she ended up turning herself into a bag of bones with bingo wings. She wasn't a big lady to start off with, but she'd exercised herself down so much that she ended up with big fats underneath.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, Christ, I fart on you, and you fall over.
You've got to have that bit of collagen in there. It's like Gary Bradfield. He's just said he weighs in at just under 10 stone, and he's told he's borderline obese. We've met Gary.
Yeah.
There's no way on the face of this earth you are borderline obese. My German Shepherd's bigger than you, mate. That's not meant in a rude way, but it's borderline obese.
Yeah, and the body mass index doesn't work, because the body mass index, like I said, it's your height, your age, and your weight gives you a BMI. But what they don't put in on that BMI, you go height, weight, age, metabolism.
Yeah.
Because everybody's metabolism burns energy at a different rate.
Yeah.
My son can eat more food than I can, yet he burns his energy off, bam, just like that, and he needs to refuel quickly.
Yeah.
He's like me. He can eat a whole packet of biscuits in one sitting, but 5 minutes later he'll be back for more, whereas that one packet would be enough for me.
Andy's just spoken about the keto diet. I went on it twice. First time I lost a stone, second time I lost a stone and a half. But I find I have to be so careful what I eat after I come off the keto, because otherwise your body goes, carbs! And you just go.
I don't believe in an extreme diet.
I'll only do it for a month, because even the doctors have said don't do it for any more than a month.
In my opinion, as a trained chef and doing nutritionalist degrees, that doing an extreme diet is dangerous for the human body. What it needs to be is you need to lower certain things like sugars and fats, and increasing gently the size of the amount of exercise you do.
Yeah.
The human heart needs 25 minutes of cardiovascular exercise a day.
That's why I walk.
Providing you keep to that system and eat healthily, so that's everything in moderation, your body will maintain a level keel. So to drop that level, you need to either increase the exercise and substitute some of the bits, take some bits out that would increase your weight, and that weight would slowly start to drop. You don't have to go to an extreme system, because extreme diets can cause more problems internally than just burning off a bit of fat.
It's like what Andy's just said there. It's not a diet; it's a change of lifestyle. Since the keto diet, I've noticed that certain foods I'll eat them and I'll blow up. So I've cut out like rice, pasta, potatoes, things like that. I eat them very rarely, because it does the same with bread. Bread makes me do it. So I've just cut down on all the things that make me blow up or make me bad. I've just cut right down on it. I just watch what I eat,
Well, this is the point I'm making. You just have to watch what you're eating and keep up the exercise, and that will bring your weight down. But the problem is if you substitute, if you remove something or too much of something, you get body shock.
Yeah.
And it's like people that will have 3 teaspoons of sugar in their coffee every time they have a coffee. They become dependent on that 3 teaspoons. Then when the doctor turns around to them and says, look, I'd advise you strongly to go down to 1 teaspoon. They're like, no, I can't do that because it don't taste right. And they refuse to do it. And then they get told, go on to sweeteners. No, you can't put 3 sweeteners in a cup of coffee because otherwise it tastes like you've put half a lemon in it.
Yeah.
So, it's something that you have to do gradually rather than instantaneously, because otherwise body shock kicks in and you end up with more problems. It's more bad than good. So it's something that you need to do gradually.
Well, there you go. The Dark Mirror Show never ceases to amaze me. We've spoken about aliens, and then we got onto alien sex, and then we got onto something else, and now we're talking about diets.
Diets. Well,
Alien
I will
diets.
give you my word of the night, or I'll say my saying for the night, or my little fact. Right, you want to go on diets? Half a pint of pineapple juice or pineapple and papaya juice. That's all you need to do, along with everything else you would normally do, because it contains the enzyme bromelain, which is an anti-inflammatory and shrinks belly fat. It burns off belly fat.
I know pineapple juice does. I didn't know the other one does.
Yeah, papaya and pineapple juice. It's the enzyme that allows it to burn off excess fat around the belly and buttocks.
Did you know? Is a random piece of information for you, seeing as it is the Dark Mirror Show and we just go from one extreme to another. Pineapple juice. If you dunk your nuts in a thing of pineapple juice, you can taste it for your nuts. Straight up, medically proved. You can taste with those bad boys.
Why would I want to eat my own nuts?
No, you don't eat your own nuts, you daft bugger. You plonk them in some pineapple juice and you can taste the pineapple juice through them. It works. Trust me, it works.
Do you reckon it'll work with milk?
You could. I think it's because of whatever the properties of pineapple juice are. But if you,
I've only got milk.
Well, go out and buy some pineapple juice and then dunk your plums in them.
It's too late. I've only got 9 minutes to get to the shop.
What?
No, I mean, I learned about pineapple when I was in Sri Lanka. We went to a farm and the bloke said to us, just half a pint of pineapple juice. But as Joe said about people that are that may be.
See you later, Gary, mate.
See you later, Gary. About people that may be allergic to pineapple, there is papaya. And instead of drinking papaya juice, which is quite hard to extract papaya juice because it's quite it's not very juicy. But what you can do is things like, as part of a healthy diet, is have something with the papaya in it, or just go to the shop and buy some papayas. Will be just as good. But it's the enzyme in the fruit that is responsible for burning fat. So
I've got one for you and for you guys in the chat room. Pineapple on pizza, on burgers. Yes, no.
Yes, on pizzas.
I don't mind it on pizzas, actually.
I love ham and well, I say that ham, pineapple, and sweet corn on pizza. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Let's try that. Yes, there you go. Yes, is. I'll tell you what. But before you go, I'll give you it's a recipe for an absolutely gorgeous steak. You get a gammon steak, and you put either chunks of pineapple and chunks of mango on, or pineapple puree and mango puree, and then you smother it in red Leicester and cheddar, and then stick it under the grill, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And do you know where I got that recipe from? The Jamaica
Jamie Oliver.
The Jamaica Inn.
Oh, right.
They call it the baking steak.
I do my my own honey glazed ham.
But that's nice.
In fact, actually, I've got a joint of gammon in the fridge defrosting, ready to do that tomorrow. So
I've done Coca-Cola ham. I've done a ham in Coca-Cola. That was nice.
yeah. Yeah, and you see all these stupid videos where they go, "Oh look, I'll put these on my pork chops and look what come out of it." But in all honesty, that is true.
I don't care if you in the chat room don't like the idea of that recipe, and you all want to go, "Oh, Wayne." That's what I've been doing tonight.
About the creepy crawlies in pork chops. That is true. Pork has an infliction called trichinosis, which is a tapeworm, and if you don't cook pork properly, then you could end up giving yourself tapeworm.
Did you see the size of that tapeworm that was in? It was. I don't want to go.
Oh, they pulled out that bloke's butt.
Yeah, the one in India, and it was. I think it was 32 feet long.
It was huge.
And it's just like, oh, what? Oh, how? Just. Oh. I know the Victorians used to take a tapeworm pill as a diet, and it was just a pill that had an egg of tapeworm in it. They'd swallow it, get a tapeworm. Once they lost the weight they wanted, tapeworm's taken out. People do.
In answer to what Joe's just said, so has beef. Yes, beef does have a form of tapeworm in it, but high temperatures kill it off pretty quickly, whereas trichinosis doesn't die off in high temperatures. That's why it has to be cooked at a higher temperature and be cooked thoroughly right the way through, and that's why you don't have to with beef.
I'm cooking pork loin chops this weekend. I'm gonna. My ex used to do pork chops cooked in gravy, and so I'm gonna try and have a crack at it this weekend and do my own spin to it. So
I buy the Chinese ones, and I cheat. What I do is I just literally buy the Chinese pork chops, and then instead of putting them in the grill or on the barbecue, I'll put them in a casserole dish and cover them in water. So that all the sauce that's actually been used to marinate the pork chops goes into the water and makes a gravy.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Putting the chops in, fill it with water, fill it with gravy, bung it in the oven, and then just keep stirring it.
Oh, I don't do the gravy side of it. I just use the minimal amount of sauce that they use to marinate the pork chops. I just literally wash all the sauce off the top of the pork chops, and then literally whisk up what liquor is there, and then just stick it in the oven.
I do make a very nice mean curry. I make a very mean curry. And I'm going to have a go at a katsu curry next week, I think. So I'll keep you informed.
I like that with Joe. Joe says, get you chefaroos. Well, yes, I did train with the Royal Air Force as a chef, and then continued with a second year after I left the Royal Air Force. So, you know,
I'm single. That's a head check up myself.
I'm the Jamie Oliver's shadow. He was the year above me at catering college when I did my second year. So
I think with cooking, it's either in you or it's not. Like, I couldn't stand cooking, but since, you know, having to do it now and stuff, I've been trying different things, and I'll do stuff so that when I taste it, I'm like, oh, it's nice, and I'll say to my daughter, here, have a taste that, see what you think, and then it's like, right, that's done, you know.
Yeah. The thing is with cooking, a lot of it is all common sense. You know, even right the way down to when we were doing bacteriology for the second year of the degree, we had an oral exam, and
proper fucking Delia Smith here, isn't it?
But when you're Royal Air Force trained, you can virtually work in any hotel. So,
mate, you ain't gonna get your fucking head out of
that. Boom. Where were we?
You were talking about yourself and Air Force School and being Royal.
No. We got sidetracked, didn't we? Do you see Joe's got me sidetracked now? Yeah.
Hang on, I'll just cast out. I'll bring your ego back, give it to you, and there you go, Jamie Oliver. That's it.
No, it was after that.
Food, it's just common sense. That's what you said.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, when we were doing the degree for bacteriology, we had to have an oral exam. And the first question had me in hysterics because it was what is the first thing you do when receiving frozen food? And only 3 of us out of 26 got it right.
Which is?
Make sure it's still frozen.
Well, I would have thought so, yeah. Because if it's frozen and soft in the middle...
Well, if it's defrosted, you can't refreeze it.
Yeah. And also
so you've just lost all of that order. So, but 23 people got it wrong. And they went, how could you get that question wrong? It's common sense. If you're receiving frozen food, you've got to make sure it's still frozen.
Like
so you're like,
yeah. It's like there's been a few places when I lived in London and I've had like KFC and I've bitten into a burger and it's still bloody raw in the inside and they wonder why you take it back and go, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like meat with bones in. Cannot touch it. So if I do KFC, I have to have a bonus box.
Yeah.
And obviously with the bonus box, they're thin slivers of chicken breast. They're not drumsticks.
So you don't like a good boning, and yet how many children have you got?
Fair enough. But even with fish is the same. I get one bone in my fish.
I don't like bony fish.
You know, I get one bone in my fish, and that's it. The whole meal's ruined. Pork chops, you get one bone in, that's it. The whole lot's gone.
What about Huss? Because Huss is just one bone.
No, it's got a bone in it.
Joe, if you're surprised at what we're coming out with, you obviously don't know the Dark Mirror show. We'll take the piss out of each other big time.
My mum learned very quickly that
she boned.
Exactly. If she did pork chops, right, and they had the bone going through them, she would have to take the bone off of my pork chop and then put it on the plate and then bring it into the living room in at the dining room.
Taylor's like it with, you know, the fat on chops. She can't eat. Yeah. She can't eat it if it's got the fat on.
Yeah, and I'm the same with the bones. If it's got the bone on it, that turns me off the whole meal. The bone is not allowed to be on that plate. So with a chicken drumstick, if the meat is taken off the drumstick and then put on my plate before it comes to me, not a problem.
Fussy fucker.
If it turns up with a bone, if it turns up with its bone there, I won't eat that. Nothing on that plate gets eaten.
You know what that is, don't you? You're a fussy eater.
No, I prefer the better portions of meat. You know, if I go to a restaurant, I'll deliberately order. You know. Huh? If I go to a restaurant, I deliberately order something that won't have a bone in it. And I've been like that since God knows when.
Well, I'm going to be nice to you because you're leaving yourself wide open to lots of jokes, and I'm not going to do it.
So I don't need to. Ellen's just woken up. She's got a sore neck, I think.
You're talking about a good boning, and she's got a sore neck. That's the end of the show.
Yeah. Well, Joe, you can have a dinner party. You can invite me. I just won't eat.
I eat pretty much anything that anybody throws at me.
Yeah, I am getting better. You know, if I get invited to a wedding or a dinner party or something, and they do serve something like that, then you know, I'm saying as a child, if a food with a bone on it got put in front of me, then it would ruin the whole meal. But
I could just see that. No.
No, you are. I'll tell you, you could ask my mum. My mum would turn around and say that if a pork chop got put in front of him at dinner time with a bone in it, everything would be left. I wouldn't even touch mashed potatoes or anything. Nothing on that plate would get touched, and I would kick off over it.
The lovely Ellen is stuffing her face in the background there. Joe says, "How is the lovely Ellen doing?"
She's only ploughing through the covered digestives, which I haven't even got yet. No, the chocolate chip ones were yours. You bought them for Nathan. Now you're scoffing them. Oh, it's going to be an argument now.
I've just remembered I've got strawberry trifle in the fridge.
Oh, what? Do you know I can get away with having one of those because Ellen don't like trifles.
I must admit, if I get a trifle, it's normally, oh, you don't want any. Oh, okay, I must have do that for you.
I like it when Tesco's do their special offer. They do their reduced bit, and 9 times out of 10, they've always got a trifle in there. I'm like, I've got to have you because I know no one else can touch you at home.
It's a trifle tempting.
Yeah, and then I put it in the fridge and then forget it's in there.
Right, I think on that note, we should definitely call a night because we've gone over by an hour.
We have. We've done a Dark Mirror special tonight, I think.
You know what? I'm going to put it up on YouTube as a special.
Yeah.
Sod it. And again, do you know the reason why I kept it going is because Joe said, when I said earlier, oh, it's almost time to finish, he goes, oh, I was just getting into it. So that's sod it. Keep it going. And to be fair, I've really enjoyed it tonight.
It's been fun.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. And,
which also it proves the point that we will start off with a subject and then we'll just go off on tangent and come out with all sorts.
We've been talking about aliens and then ended up talking about you boning and cooking.
But I don't know. We could be the new This Morning presenters.
No, the new version of Hairy Bikers. It means
I could turn around here. I could be the Gino D'Acampo, couldn't I? I go, if my mother had two wheels on a bicycle.
The hairy ufologists. There you go.
The hairy ufologists. The hairy aliens.
2 blokes on an alien. No, not that title. No. Oh dear. So the hairy boners. Andy, dude. No. Bad
no,
Andy.
I think that's a show for the adult channel only.
The hairy boners. Why, hey, come and look at what I've made.
Certainly got to be after the watershed, isn't it? I think I forgot to trim this.
You know what I've noticed is, and I noticed this yesterday, is when you're in the shower and you're trying to manscape, make sure you've got a bath mat down so you don't slip with the razor in your hand. I nearly ended up a little Jewish boy, I tell you. Anyway, shall we carry on with the aliens and do a few conspiracy theories, the new ones that have come out? I'll find a load of stuff and send it to you, and I'll post some stuff up in the group room as well. How's that for everybody? Aliens and conspiracies.
Mark, I think you've upset your internet. You're frozen.
Oh, bollocks!
Your hands in the air. It's going. Oh.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Can you see me now?
No. Well, we can, but you're not moving.
Oh, bugger. All right. Well, on that note, thank you very much for listening and staying with us. Thank you, Andy. I hope your coughing fit wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And we shall see you all. I'm hoping to be back on Sunday with the rearview mirror with Taylor. So hopefully,
you're moving for Joe. You're just not moving for me.
Well, you're the wrong section, so I'm not going to make you move. He doesn't move me anymore.
Hey.
Hey.
I'm alive.
You still not see me?
No. All I've got is a frozen picture of you in mid-sentence with your hand like going across up like this. Like,
because I'm in my screen, I'm moving, and everybody else can see me moving. Christ knows, I don't know. So, yeah, how's that for next week, folks? Aliens and conspiracy theories. Because I seem to think that when we don't have a set thing and we just let everybody else join in, it turns into a really, really good show.
Yeah, it's more fun.
Andy,
can I just ask? Go on.
Go on, mate. What do you want to know?
Can I just ask?
He's now frantically tapping a bloody phone.
Oh.
If you don't want
No, it's not. That's not bones, as in bones in general. It's the thought of swallowing and choking on a bone. We think I have high functioning autism, the same as my son. Only I haven't been diagnosed. He has, and you sort of like get set in your ways and don't like certain things. And with me, it's bones in food.
I have to admit, you've got that some pork chops we've had from Tesco.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. That was before you woke up. I said that, but lately or more recently, as years have gone on, I've got better with it. So
You still won't eat a chicken leg.
no, don't eat chicken. So I
So
can't
you're very
stand.
fussy what you put in your mouth.
Yeah. I'm very fussy about what goes in between these lips.
And on that note, I think we'll say good night.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same with vegetables as well.
You're a bloody nightmare.
It's taken me 30 years to eat cabbage, but I prefer cabbage raw than cooked.
The only cabbage I don't like is that bloody. Is it celeriac? No, the really wrinkly one.
I was going to say celeriac's a relative of celery.
Yeah, what's it called? The really wrinkly cabbage.
Savoy cabbage.
Savoy, yeah.
They're horrible.
Yeah.
I prefer just a normal white cabbage will do me.
I eat most vegetables. I've dated a few as well.
Right, Joe, I'm going to ask you a question. Now, Joe has just said, ew, Wayne, that's not right, is it? Joe, do you eat coleslaw?
I've got some barbecue coleslaw in the fridge.
Ew.
I can't wait for Joe's
It's actually really nice.
Joe's answer. Joe, do you eat coleslaw? Or do you like coleslaw? Oh! No, she doesn't like coleslaw.
What were you
I
going to
thought
say?
I thought I might have her on that one. She don't eat coleslaw. So coleslaw is made with raw cabbage, carrots, and onions.
Yep. I love cheese coleslaw.
I actually do prefer my vegetables raw, even sprouts. I prefer sprouts raw,
Oh, I like them julienne. I do like them julienne.
but the after effects of sprouts, the after effects of eating raw sprouts is actually worse than eating cooked sprouts. But
I'm just whilst I remember, talking of sprouts, something very funny that happened with a sprout. Type into Google IMAC reviews. What's it? The one of the things people Amazon IMAC reviews. Type that in, and you'll find one on there, and it involves a Brussels sprout. One of the funniest things I've read for a long, long time. I won't say anything else, but well worth watching, well worth reading.
all right, okay, but I will. Most of my vegetables I will eat raw. Sprouts, cabbage, carrots. Okay, I draw the line at potatoes, but a lot of things like the normal common day garden vegetables I prefer to eat raw than cooked. But that's because I feel that unless you use the water from the vegetables as the gravy, you lose too much goodness from the vegetables.
Yeah.
So I'd rather eat them raw.
Right. Okay.
Anyway.
What time is it? The bloody time. 9:15.
Let's do for a quickie. I know it's been 2 hours and 8 minutes. What do people think about ABBA coming back? Now we have gone completely on wonk.
I like ABBA, so.
Well, you'll be pleased to know they're releasing an album on November the 5th.
Yep.
Yeah, what's it called? It's because you were talking about it.
Voyage.
Voyage, that's it.
Voyage. They did a live YouTube feed last night where they played 2 new songs from their new album, and the first one not all that greatly received, but the second one was very ABBA-ish, and it was really good.
That's like Def Leppard. They've revamped themselves again, and they one of the albums they brought out. What's the track on it? Do you really want to do this now? And that is classic Def Leppard. It's a real, oh yeah.
Right, Joe, on my timeline on Facebook, I put a link. I did a link about ABBA, and I put in there the link to the second song that they did last night. And it is very similar to the original ABBA stuff they used to do. But what they're doing is they're doing a concert in London. They've got their own stage being built at the moment. And what they're doing is it's not ABBA as they are now performing. It's ABBA as they was in the 80s performing.
I'll have to listen to it when I'm making a brew.
And they've done digital avatars for the concert. So they're not actually physically going to be there. It's going to be the digital holograms that are going to be singing. So that's a bit of a first, I think. Well, they said, they went, oh, we can't do holograms. And I'm like, you did with, actually you can, because Liam Neeson and Jeff Wayne did a hologram for the War of the Worlds at O2. So we know it can be done. And that's what they've gone and done this time around. It does look really good.
Look at her picking you up for your speech. Fucking hell. Do you have a pop at my mate, madam? Oh dear. I'll have a listen to it whilst I'm making a cup of tea. See what it's like.
I do think. I mean, obviously not listening to the whole album yet. I've only heard 2 songs, but
I can't listen to the whole album.
they do look fairly. It does sound as if that'll be quite good, and they reckon there'll be a Christmas #1 as well. So,
well, like I say, I'll have a listen to it when I'm doing my cup of tea, and then I'll put my thunks into the Dark Mirror show.
Okie dokie.
And on that note, everybody, I'm so glad you stayed with us this long. This is the longest show we've done, apart from when we've done a Christmas special. So you're honoured.
You're breaking copyright. You've got the Spice Girls in the background.
Do you know, I was offered a job once. United used to do security. I was offered a job covering security when the Spice Girls first came out, and I turned it down. Oh, dear. So yes, next week we will have the premise of aliens and conspiracy theories, but who knows where the hell the thread of conversation will go to? Maybe people shoving cucumbers through people's letterboxes and shouting out, "Jesus, missus, the aliens are here!" and along that sort of line, because we've been talking about willies and food and probing and a good boning and all manner of things. So we'll just see where it goes next week.
Indeed.
So on that note, no, you didn't take offense to that, did you, Wayne?
Hey, well, who?
You didn't take offense to that?
No. Takes a lot to offend me.
As I said, thank you to everybody for watching and staying with us. Thank you very much to, am I going to do it right? I bloody did. I've done it right. And thanks to this young man and Mrs. Wayne in the background. And it's been a riot. I've really enjoyed it. So I shall hopefully see you on Sunday at some point in time with my daughter for the rearview mirror. And we'll be back next Friday with another episode of the Dark Mirror Show. And a cat's meowing its head off, so I'm going to have to go and open the door. So goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me. Oh my word. Oh, there we go. I'm back again. And it's goodbye from me.
So see you later.